Did we do how can men become more attractive in a way that makes the level of attraction equal? Did we do that one?
Yeah, I mean, as yeah, once again we go into the area of learning conversational skills because without that we cannot trigger neurotransmitters in women's brain. And I also think that men actually have to learn relationship building material that has been proven for so long back in the days. There are shortcuts, there are courses you can take, but actually the interpersonal communication that men have to learn. As you said, Pearl, they have to learn the language because it's the
Yeah.
language that is like the missing link. And when we see that, if, specifically in the manosphere and red pill that you're very familiar with, when you look at those fields and you can see how women behave towards men, we objectively can feel a little bit like bad behavior and so on. But when I ask guys, how do you behave towards that girl that is not attractive? You will see similar things. So that is just a human behavior of how we behave towards people that we don't find really attractive. But that person might go and find us very attractive and we just see that as annoying. And I think that is a huge part of all those problems that yeah, you have been talking about before. I really believe so.
Yeah. Well, and there's less I think there's less consequences for women to be bad people than men. You know, like if a guy's a dick to someone, like that woman can go ruin his reputation around there where like men just don't really do that as much. Like if you're kind of a dick to a guy, he just lives with it because he's, you know.
Yeah. I mean, probably I don't have any any information about that, but I get your point. It might be like that. Yes, that they are more destructive, yeah, in that sense for the man if they don't like the man. But you probably have seen women that are really attracted to their man. How do they behave then? Amazingly, isn't it?
Oh, sometimes a little crazy, but yeah, yeah. Like sometimes
Yeah,
very jealous if they're
yeah,
really
could
attracted to him, but yeah, I would say much better, of course.
Yeah, I mean, they basically do everything for him, a lot
Yeah.
of things. And I've seen many women that are labeled as bad woman, and she got attracted to some guy,
You,
and she became like the
you know
best
what
woman in the world.
you know what I think of? I think of Amber Heard and Elon Musk.
Yeah,
He's like, what's wrong with Amber Heard?
yeah,
It's like
yeah.
the
You see
selfie of
exactly.
them
Yeah,
in the costume, you know, and she's wearing like the anime costume.
yeah. No, I get you.
He's like, what's the problem? I don't get it.
Yeah. And then I get that. Yeah, but you get the point. Yeah,
Yeah, I
it was a
do.
good
He
example, but you
he
get
he
the
will
point.
get it when she shits in his bed. He will get it then.
Okay. Dating methods, interpersonal communication versus PUA and manosphere red pill skill set to evolve socially and romantically effective communication, empathy in conversations.
Yeah, a lot of things that we spoke about here. So basically, again, if we know what attracts women, we should actually lean towards doing that to attract women. And I think that it's actually, counterproductive and constructive if you go with other areas that actually doesn't attract women. It's just like another gimmick and so on. So there are two factors here. It's like learning how to have empathetic conversation with women, with people in general. It's also giving your brain the power of evolve. You see, you'll be able to have a better cognitive function because of your cognitive engagement with people and so on. So your brains get smarter, have stronger emotional intelligence. Everything gets up. If you don't learn that, you're learning other things such as routines and gimmicks and so on. You will be good at that particular thing, but your brain will not evolve. You just create a habit on one thing, and that's it. And that doesn't benefit anyone. It doesn't benefit any guys that trying to learn that one thing, and then maybe learn another thing. Because if that routine is finished, I have to have another routine to pull out from the pocket, and then another routine, and then you have a guy that knows 20 routines, and that is what he's based on, 20 routines. But his neural flexibility is zero. Cognitive flexibility it doesn't increase. So he cannot handle complex ideas of having a social interaction with people, especially women.
It's almost like memorizing multiplication tables versus learning like how to multiply almost, or like memorizing information versus understanding the concept.
Absolutely. That's basically the same thing. One is triggering new neural pathways for your brain to grow cognitively, cognitive function. The other one is just a memorization. That's it. So you create the memory room and things become automatic because you remember exactly that part. But if there will be a similar part that is not that part, then you cannot even solve it.
Right.
So that's very interesting concept in that sense. There are a couple of principles that I've seen change guys' lives completely. And that is, for example, like if they apply the mindset of being curious and to have that saying in the brain. And the saying is, if you want to be interesting, be interested rather than trying to be interesting. If they learn that concept, most of the interaction with women will vastly improve, mega improve. I've seen people change their life just based on that line. Make it about her and be curious about that. Many of my clients and many guys like, really? Should I make it about her? You meaning, should I ask her a question? You mean? Like, learn about her underlying reason of doing things. And of course, if you are the only one that asks questions, it will eventually sound like an interrogation. So you have to be part of that conversation by relaying back to yourself. Like, for example, like when you said you were in Chicago, you lived in Chicago, and you like the summertime and the wintertime, let's say that. Then I will just relay back to you and say, you know what, I like Chicago too on summertime. It's really nice here. But I'm curious, when you are saying, I like summertime in Chicago, what do you mean? Can you help me to understand that better? I want to know. Now, suddenly, we are getting somewhere. Basically, we are getting somewhere now. And in the beginning, it is hard to learn in the beginning. But with consistent practice, you will have a habit of listening to what you're saying, and then the cognitive flexibility comes in. And you know what? I want to understand what you mean there. I'm not satisfied with I like summertime and wintertime, and that's it. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is that the conversation we're going to have? You know what? You don't get away with me. When you saying something, I want to know more. I don't know which one you talk with. Maybe a lot of other guys. Okay, that's cool, and then he start talking about himself.
Yeah.
But I've applied the mindset of making it about you. I'm interested in you. So I don't want to say a lot of interesting things. I'm interested in you. So based on that, I want to know what you mean with summertime in Chicago. What does that mean exactly? Tell me. And now we're getting into depth. And that is what actually creates influence and impact emotionally. So be interested rather than trying to be interesting.
Right. Do you have anything you want to add?
Just a minor point, I guess. Like I suppose myself included, perhaps, if you said something like you didn't like winter in Chicago, I would say something along the lines of, "What is wrong with you? I love winter. We can do all these crazy things in the winter and stuff like that." But then in what Michael was saying, that becomes a kind of about me. I'm applying my personal preferences against yours. So that's kind of one thing that I'm seeing from what Michael says.
But I have to add something there. It was great as a relay. If she said, "Oh, I like wintertime," or if you said that you didn't like wintertime, let's say you said, "I like wintertime," then you come and say, "Oh, I love wintertime. It's amazing." Blah 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 blah. You keep it short and concise, just to open up what we used to call a dynamic conversation or a collaborative conversation, and then you roll the ball back to her and let her tell you what she think about or what you mean with "I like the wintertime in Chicago." You see what I mean? So not saying anything about you at all is also wrong, because you don't create a collaborative communication flow then. So we still have to have some conversation between us two, but it should be much more about her than yourself. So you always going to keep yourself pretty short and concise, specifically in the beginning of of a relationship, in a date, and so on. Keep it short and concise. So that was still good. It was still good. If you rolled back the ball to her. I used to say that.
And I would have said, what are you, a psychopath?
No, but yeah, it can sound psychopathic, like, oh, are you really that interested? No, but the spotlight should be on her, really, definitely. So, and that is a principle that everyone who listens to this podcast, if you are a doctor in communication, psychology, psychotherapist, and so on, you know this. Don't know. This is a common knowledge, basically, that if you want to be interesting, make it about them and talk about them. A good conversationalist and a great influencer, if you're going to stand back and listen to that person, you will see that he will not talk that much, but if he talks, it sounds like this. He and her is talking about her. You see? That is how it sounds like. That is a great conversationalist.
Yeah.
Not a guy that just rambling about himself and what he think about things and what he want to achieve in life and so on. Not much about that. He can say it in the context of finding out about her in order to have some kind of dynamic conversation. But you know, most guys just make it about them because that's the only thing they can talk about.
Yeah.
And sometimes being nervous in the same time, and then you know, it doesn't impress anyone. So.